Welcome everybody. Actually, welcome back. Because yes, this night we are here for the second season of Adiga TVShow Live With. Are you ready for the challenge? Because tonight I'm going to present this program that the aim is to show or to introduce you like some guests. Especially now we have a special, really special guest that achieve a really remarkable goals in her life. While the interview, of course, you can make or submit all of your questions on our YouTube or Facebook program. And don't forget to submit your like on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Hi everyone, and I'm here with Zaina Al-Said, and welcome. It's really a pleasure for me to be here with you. She's our host this night, and she's Jordanian. And would you like to introduce you a little bit so our guests can just be a little bit aware about...
Thank you for hosting me. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for hosting me tonight. Like you said, my name is Zaina Said. I'm an artist. I was born and raised in Jordan. I went to school in Jordan, and I graduated high school from Jordan. Post graduation, I went to the American University in London, where I completed my BA degree in business administration, which has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. But I guess at the age of 17, 18, you don't really know what you want to do. So I just kind of went with the flow and did what the rest of my friends were doing.
Okay, and then why? I mean, I know that, of course, as you said, you just switched to another type of not business and administration, but you're an artist. So what was like the things that changes your mind, and what was it?
It didn't start. I graduated business, and then after graduation I came back to Amman, and my career took different paths. So I started, once I returned to Jordan after graduation, I started working with the EU briefly in the development section.
Okay.
After that I took another shift, another turn in my career, where I turned into writing.
Okay.
So I joined a local Jordanian magazine called iMagazine, promoting Jordanian culture and heritage. I started with them as a writer, later on as a travel reporter, and then later on as an editor of the magazine.
Okay.
After that, I took another turn into my career, which also had to do with writing as well, but it was something that I've wanted to do for a long time, which is learning Circassian language.
Okay.
So I started preparing for this project, which it had to do with me going to live in the Kabardey region in the North Caucasus, in Nalchik. And simultaneously, I had another thing in mind besides learning the Circassian languages, to study the mythology and the oral folk of the Circassians.
Okay.
So I did that for a while, and I began studying Circassian language and doing the research. After that, I decided to return to Jordan, and since year 2010, 2011, I began in the world of art. It didn't come by coincidence.
Okay.
Many members of my family, they're into arts. Both my uncles are renowned artists, and
what kind of artist?
Mixed visual. They're visual artists, and the other one was into geometry and calligraphy.
Okay.
So it was different types of arts, and other members of the family as well were into. My sister's a fashion designer, and some designers, architects, etc. So it kind of just crept its way into my life, as if it was destined that I become an artist eventually. So yes, like I said, since 2010, 2011, I started painting, and it took off from there.
Okay, and can you explain a little bit about your art? I know that you're doing like collage art.
Collage art.
Yes. So it's not like paintings, or so you develop like you started from there and then you developed.
I started painting when I first started as an artist. I started painting, and then I started experimenting with different materials such as plexiglass, wooden resin. I also worked with geometric units and calligraphy.
Okay.
Up until I landed into this what I'm doing now, which is collage art. To give you a brief description about collage art, it's basically cutting out images from different sources. It could be a magazine, a poster, a leaflet, anything from a tissue box, and you assemble these images. You cut them out, and you create the body of artwork.
So different types of material?
Different types of material.
Okay.
This is how I originally started, with literally cutting out images, as in with the scissors and with the knife and so on. So this is how I started, and then later on down the road, I started exploring other forms of collage, which is digital art, which follows the same process. But it's done digitally, meaning on a computer program such as Photoshop, which is what I use now. So I started doing digital because it actually facilitated the process of work. Versus handmade collage was kind of challenging in terms of finding accurate sizes, because I find these images from different sources, so you can't really.
Let me ask you, what is the process? Are you do you have an image in your mind and you're like translating this image into a paper, or just cutting and then?
No, it could be, the process starts if I find different images. It could be from anything. So I collect these images, and once I get an inspiration to create something, I find these images. There are certain types of images that attract me, patterns, or it could be certain characters that I'm interested in. So this is how the process works.
Great. And you know that you've done and you've been in many exhibitions, and would you explain us what kind of exhibitions and what are like the main experience that you...
I've participated in, of course I had solo exhibitions here in Jordan and group exhibitions abroad. I exhibited in Dubai, I exhibited in Kuwait, in London, as well as Moscow. But it's mostly local and regional that most of my, most of the solo exhibitions were locally here in Jordan. And as well as Moscow as well. I exhibited with they're dear friends of mine who own a gallery in Moscow. Barzaj and Jabbar Corrado. Their gallery is called MSK Gallery. And I exhibited at the Four Seasons through them. It was an opening for an event for a space in the Four Seasons, and this is how I got the experience.
Okay, and the last one was here in Jordan?
The last one was here, was quite recent. It was back in late July, early August, at Al-Hosh Gallery here in Jordan, and a little while before that at Jacaranda Art Gallery.
Okay. And I would like to ask you, what are the, do you have artists, do you have things that inspires you while you're thinking it?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of things inspire me, many things inspire me. It could be anything actually, it could be a book that I've read, a person that I meet, so many things, patterns, mythology. I'm highly inspired by mythology, I love mythology. But mostly I'm inspired by anything beautiful, basically, anything beautiful to do with cultures, with patterns as well.
And do you have like, did you ever thought about this life previously? Like being an artist in Jordan, doing exhibition here while you was a child, like.
I never really thought about it.
Your perception about yourself, because
maybe Because I was brought up in probably an artistic atmosphere. As a child, yes, I did think at one point in my childhood, I did think that I wanted to become an artist, but it never really sunk in. So maybe, I don't know.
And just, you mentioned Circassian language, and I just want to highlight this point because you mentioned research that you have done during your stays in Caucasian regards, the Circassian language and the culture. Can you just explain a little bit about this research?
Yes.
And why Circassian, the language, studying abroad?
It's a project that I started, like I mentioned previously, it's a project that I started around year 2008, 2007, 2008, when I decided to move to the Caucasus to learn Circassian language. I did not learn, I did not speak Circassian language before, so that was an important thing that I wanted to do. And simultaneously I had a specific interest in the mythology and the oral folk at large. So I went to the Caucasus and I did my research, of course the language and the oral folk and mythology with the help of many friends and many acquaintances. And I have to mention something very important. With the research that I did, I owe it to a wonderful man who just recently passed away, which is the Circassian scholar, the late Dr. Amjad Jumukha, who has been his continuous support and assistance to this project was very, very it gave me immense courage. So without him, this work would have not seen light at all. So I owe a lot to the late Dr. Amjad Jumukha, and I condole his family. I want to take this opportunity and condole the Circassian community worldwide for this tragic loss. So anyways, back to the mythology.
Yeah.
Just to give you a brief description about Circassian mythology and why I'm interested in it. Circassian mythology comes in form of songs, stories, hymns, and poems, short stories and long stories. And they can be dated back as far back as 800 BC. These stories and these hymns, they're very ancient. They belong to a very antique world. Originally, these stories were verbally narrated from generation to the next over hundreds of years. And they were preserved amongst a certain group of people who were called the Jagwagwas. They preserved this oral tradition, and it was performed and narrated in certain events and certain ceremonies. It wasn't until probably between the 1960s and the 1970s that a Circassian scholar called Hadagata Askar, he did a wonderful initiative which he recorded, and he documented around 700 stories of the Nart sagas, and he published them in a huge affluent volume, 7-book volume. From different tribes, Circassian tribes, Eastern and Western Circassian tribes. So what I wanted to do is basically translate these myths, to introduce them to a wider range of audience, translate them from Circassian into English language, and as well as introduce their magnitude in the world of mythology. These sagas are of great importance because basically first they are the fountainhead of Circassian culture, and they are the base of the Circassian nation, because this is where they derive information of how their ancient past was, what their dress code was, the musical instruments, their way of life, etc. That dealt with the dynamics of their life. Moreover, it also shows important historical epics in the history of civilization, not only to the Circassian but on a universal sphere, worldwide, because these sagas, they show important historical epics such as iron invention, the Iron Age, the Copper Age before that, and before that Paleolithic Age, Neolithic Age, as well as the Dolmen culture. So we're basically talking about very important historical epics, the Agricultural Age, Matriarchal Age. So these stories, in their fantastical mode, in their fantasy mode, in their flamboyant sphere, there's a certain truth that they contain.
Definitely, it reminds me like the Greek poems.
Exactly, and they are
the oral tradition.
Exactly, and they are as significant as the Greek mythology to the Greeks, and as the Romans and as the Norse.
Yeah.
And they also have these stories also have counterparts in Greek mythology and in Norse mythology, so they're no less significant. They're very, very important. Another thing that I wanted to say was, in addition to these important facets, they also show interaction with ancient civilization, extinct civilizations, such as the ancient Sinds, the ancient Mi'ots, as well as the Amazon warriors, the female Amazon warriors. They also have accounts to relate about these ancient nations. And moreover, they have interesting facets to it. They relate information about tree worshipping, sun veneration, Zoroastrian elements, very antique facets about them, cannibalism, necrophilia. They have a lot of interesting facts that actually make you actually think that it actually existed in this ancient world. So basically, this is what I did out of the 700 accumulated.
Okay. So you speak Circassian?
I learned later on. I learned Circassian when in my stay in the Qabardi region.
Okay.
What I wanted to do, like I said, is to translate. So I took about 45 different accounts from the Circassian mythology, and I translated them into English. Translating, like I said, because I wanted to introduce them to a wider audience. That was number one. Another thing was I wanted to introduce the Circassian language as well. The Circassian through these accounts that I selected. I wanted to introduce the Circassian language through them. Circassian language is a very ancient language as well. It has links to extinct languages, such as...
is it hard to learn Circassian language? Or?
It's in a way, probably the pronunciation could be a bit difficult. There are over 60 alphabets, and each alphabet can contain numerous letters. So, and its form, yeah.
We have to go to the break, and please don't go away. Stay with us, and we're going also to have music. We have Circassian music with Zaid and Yazan, and we will see after that. Hi again. Here I am with Zaina, collage artist, and I would like to have like few questions, like more, let's say, personal from my side. Can you just tell me about the challenges that you faced during your life becoming an artist, and also like with this education, research, and I don't know, probably living abroad, traveling a lot?
Challenges, of course, as an artist, there are always challenges in terms of trying to make it or trying to sustain steady income. In other words, there's always a challenge. But it quickly, as soon as, how can I say this? Once you love what you do, I guess everything opens up. Opens up the paths, as long as you're passionate about what you do, there's always a way out, I guess. Other than that, of course, it was some challenges, of course, in the research, and but nothing that major that affected or made me stop or made me discontinue or disheartened me at any point.
And do you have some suggestions, some tips for like children or people living here in Jordan and they want to pursue their path and they want to become an artist? And
I guess just like I said, just to do what they love most, to do what they're passionate about most. I remember we used to hear it in movies or read it in books that do what you love most. It never really got to me because there's life, there's reality, and there are bills to pay. There are several things that you need to do. But I guess no. With me, when I focused on what I wanted to do most, I guess everything, the paths kind of open up.
Totally agree with you. Yeah. And last question, do you have like a favorite artist or?
Definitely, yes, of course. I'm inspired. I love Salvador Dali, definitely, and Salvador is one of my favorites. And there's also,
I mean, somehow you're like all
I
their
love
collage,
the surreal. Yes, I love the
somehow
surreal.
matches with them.
Yeah, I love the surreal effect because my artwork is and it's eclectic, and it's kind of surreal in many terms, where there's no time and space, or I try to convey this in my artwork. So yes, Dali is definitely one of them. And the late, she was a Jordanian Turkish artist, Fakhr Zaid. She was also is a great inspiration. And the rest of the gang, I guess, from those famous artists, they all add up different elements to my artwork. There's always some sort of inspiration from everybody.
Thank you again very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was really a pleasure for me and also for all of us. And of course, don't forget to submit and to subscribe on Facebook and on Instagram. And follow us. We will be back in 15 days.